Hello everyone. We are going to discuss the Caro-Kann defense in this video. Caro-Kann is a semi-open opening. So open openings are generally where we play e4 and d5. Closed openings are where they play d4 and we play d5. And semi-closed is when they play d4 and any other move like knight f6, e6. Semi-open are where black does not respond with e5, responds with e6 or c6 or other moves. So c6 is where the Caro-Kann is. So this is the Caro-Kann opening. The idea is to play d5. It's very similar to the French. It's like the French defense's brother. White usually goes d5 and d5. Black plays d5. So this is the standard position of a Caro-Kann defense. Now from here, there are three ways for white to play this position. The most classical way for white to play this, also known as the classical variation, it used to be the most popular line earlier, was knight c3. Black usually takes, knight takes back, and bishop f5. Now white goes knight g3, bishop g6. Now the position offers a lot of opportunities, possibilities, and white usually goes with h4. And to avoid the bishop getting trapped, black goes h6, bishop d3, takes. I mean, he can also go h5, h5, bishop back, bishop d3, bishop takes, and queen takes. This is like a regular position in the classical variation. So a lot of different ways to play for black and for white. The h5 pawn can be used as an attacking resource. It can also become a weakness if black plays correctly. So this is a very playable position, favorable, I mean equal for both sides. And this used to be the way the Caro-Kann was played for a long time. This is the classical variation. Nowadays, the more popular way that the players play the Caro-Kann is the advanced variation. White chooses the advanced variation. It closes down the center. Black usually brings out the bishop. This bishop is the problem piece in the French defense, but in Caro-Kann it can directly come out. In French, there's a pawn on e6. Bishop will never come out in normal way. In Caro-Kann, it can directly come out to bishop f5. Now, uh, white can play knight c3, knight f3, for example, and black would go knight d7. And it's possible to have the same kind of attacking options for white. For example, in a line that can be used as a surprise system is white going g4 and if bishop g6 and h4, trapping the bishop almost. So black makes space either by h5 and h6. This is considered a little bit dubious for white because you're pushing too many pawns. But if white gets f4, f5, and everything, it'll be too much for black to handle. Sometimes white just goes h5, bishop back, bishop d3, and exchanges, just like the classical variation. Now, this is the advanced variation, and it leads to closed positions. Just like in the French advance, black has the idea of playing f6 and breaking this pawn chain. Sometimes black also goes c5 after taking out the bishop. So that's another option for white. The third option is the exchange Caro-Kann, which basically offers equal chances for both sides. And now white plays bishop d3 to stop bishop f5. White can go c3, knight out. Black can also bring out the knight. There's an open half open c file for black. For white, there is castles, knight out. All the regular moves are possible for white. So in Caro-Kann, the H pawn push, which is becoming very popular in all openings these days, thanks to Alpha Zero, is very much in the agenda. White can choose to go attacking with h4, g4, h5, and everything, or can play a solid game with c3, knight out, and castles. So these are the three variations that the Caro-Kann usually has. And now we're going to look at a game which was a very iconic game in the 1960s. It was a game between former world champion Tal, who was playing white, against a former world champion Botvinnik. So Botvinnik was black, he played c6, Tal played d4, d5, knight c3, takes, bishop f5, knight g3, attacking the bishop, bishop goes back, knight e2, bringing out the knight that way, he's planning knight f4, knight f6, h4. Again, h5 is a threat. It's a big threat. It traps the bishop. So black has to make space. It says knight f4, pushing the bishop back because you don't want to allow knight takes, pawn takes, breaking the pawn structure. Bishop back, bishop c4, pawn e6, very natural, developing the dark squared bishop. Castles. So you can see that white has a very nice position. If you at first sight it looks very nice for white. This h4 pawn push allows the g4 square to be weak. This pawn can become weak. So there are a lot of playing options for black. Botvinnik plays bishop d6. Knight takes e6. Tal, in his usual style, unleashes a bomb, a sacrifice on e6. With his king safe, he sacrifices the knight for 2 pawns. And the idea is he's going to play rook e1 or queen e2 and attack the king. Botvinnik manages this in very calm and cool style. He plays queen c7, just developing the queen, kind of threatening bishop takes knight. So he goes rook e1. Tal goes rook e1. This looks scary, right? The bishop, if it moves, it becomes a discord attack, discord check. And if there is anything the bishop can attack, it becomes a target. If a queen was on, let's say, b5, then bishop would already be threatening bishop c4. So here, however, there's only one piece on a light square, this bishop. Rook is there, but it cannot be reached. So Botvinnik correctly assesses that this is not really a big threat. It looks scary, but it need not be that big of a threat. He just plays knight d7. It takes a lot of bravery to play knight d7. Tal goes bishop g8. It's a check. So king has to move, king f8. Bishop takes, rook takes. So you can see there is some awkwardness in the black camp. Rook is on h7, king is on f8. If white manages to keep more pieces in attack, it will be a deadly attack. Tal brings his knight to f5. A very good square for the knight, but Botvinnik immediately kicks it. Not worried about weakening the king, he just plays g6. Rook can be activated now via the 7th rank. Bishop takes. It's also a pawn sack. So now Tal has got 3 pawns for the piece, which is technically equal material, but the piece is much more valuable in the middle game and the opening. King g8, knight d6 because the knight was hanging. Bishop is also hanging, so bishop goes back. Rook e7. So Botvinnik's plan is very simple. He wants to exchange of everything and use the extra piece. Queen d3, developing the queen. King g7, just giving extra support, supporting the pawn, extra support to the knight, clearing the last rank for rook h8 or rook e8. Queen g3, offering an exchange of queens. This is not something you would expect from white. So white is kind of changing his play. He doesn't want to attack anymore because there is very little chance for attack. Only 4 pieces left. Black has got enough defenses. h5 is something you could consider, but does it really help? Like in this position, if you play h5, you can just exchange and then take the pawn. So that doesn't work. With knight, you can take the pawn after exchanging. So queen g3, rook takes. Botvinnik is very happy to exchange of the pieces and go to the endgame. Rook f8, c4, knight g4, d5. So Tal has created a pass pawn now, right? Knight f6, d6. The pawn is becoming dangerous. Botvinnik decides to stop that pawn. Stopping it this way would be bad because then rook e7 comes. b7 falls, a7 falls. Rook d7, I mean f7. Rook c1, preparing rook c7. So this is still in the balance. The game is still in the balance. Rook d7, rook c7. Again, looks a little bit scary, but everything is held together really well by Botvinnik. King e6, king f7, preparing king e6 so that this never becomes a problem. Bishop takes, knight takes. Now it's a very pure endgame. He goes right into the endgame now. The d6 pawn is gone, but white believes he has still got 2 pawns for the knight. There are pawns on both sides, so the knight will have a hard time catching everything. King f3, king takes, king f4, king a6, just activating the king. Knight d5. Now the black knight shows its powers. King e4, knight comes back. Repetition. But Botvinnik doesn't want to repeat. He's up a piece, so he goes for more. A3, attacking the knight. Knight goes back. H5. So Tal's agenda here would be very clear. Just exchange of all the pawns. Like if he manages to do this, this would be great for white. If you analyze this, white might even be better because it's 2 connected pass pawns and this pawns just on this side for black. At max, it will be a draw, not a loss for white. But Botvinnik correctly plays g5, keeping as many pawns on the board, allows the h pawn to be passed, but that pawn is about to get picked up. The king will just scoot over and pick up the pawn. King f6, king d5. White king becomes active, but that's just fake activity. Pawn a4, knight b3. The knight is stopping both the pawns clearly. King d6, he's heading for these pawns. a5, knight defends the pawn. King d5, now the king is heading for the knight. King takes pawn. King c4, knight moves. King b5, attacking this pawn. In return, Botvinnik attacks the b2 pawn. So here, if you think a little bit, if you take this, did he take? He didn't take. He played b3. If you take this, then knight takes, and these two pawns are very weak. They can be picked up. So this would be a difficult position for white. So white plays b3. Knight goes back. King takes. If king goes back, that allows black the time to get his king over. Once he gets a king over, he'll be able to pick up these pawns. It'll be a win. So he goes king takes, knight takes, another exchange of pawns. King c3, king moves, king c2, knight moves, king d3, knight moves, king back. Of course, white would be happy to repeat, but black goes for more. But when it goes for knight f4, attacking the pawn, king, it was a check. And here, the important thing to understand is if black takes that pawn, the knight could be too far away from the action. King b5, knight d6, king b3, the pawn is gone. This can be risky for black. That is why he doesn't go for the pawn. He brings the king over, activating the king. In an endgame, the king is very important to be active. Knight goes back, and here Tal resigned. So Tal's iconic sacrifice came on the board, but Botvinnik kept his cool, played calmly, and converted the position into an endgame, and then win. Here, the pawn is falling, and the black king is becoming active. So there is no real chance for white to hold it. Black can even allow white to take this and give up the knight here, get the king over and take these pawns and promote. So basically, Caro-Kann offers a lot of different options for both sides. The play can be really creative and sometimes very attacking defensive style. So yeah, it's very similar to French, but the main difference is the bishop will be active via f5 or g4, and it might get exchanged by the bishop on d3, but it still leads to different variety of positions, and it's a very sound opening and played at the top level as well.